Hi, welcome back to the last 2 weeks of this challenge. The first week only had one recipe, so I put them both in the same video. So for the first week, we had to use up meat pie, sausages, chicken quarters, fries, pierogies, fish, and pork. So we had meat pie with poutine, pierogies, and I was gonna make a pierogi and cheese bake. I didn't end up actually making that. Barbecue chicken with rice and stir fry, and then I was gonna make a honey garlic pork with mashed potatoes. Sunday we were gonna have breakfast for dinner, and then Monday was just gonna be leftovers. And then of course I was gonna have a fish sandwich, and one day for lunch and sausages another day. So this week the only recipe I'm showing you is the chicken quarters. Now I was just doing barbecued, so I added salt, pepper. I also added paprika and garlic powder. So I am cooking it in this frying pan on top of the stove, and then later I'm gonna throw it in the oven, and then every like 15 minutes I'm gonna flip it and add some barbecue sauce on it. I like to layer on the barbecue sauce, so there's lots there. I do season both sides of the chicken quarters. So I'm gonna just flip it. And I'm gonna put the same seasonings. So these are my go-to seasonings for my chicken, sometimes my pork, it depends. But when I'm lazy, it's just the same four. And I believe I put them in the oven at 375 degrees, and I did cook them for close to an hour. I'd say it was around 45 minutes to an hour. Make sure you check the temperature of your chicken when you cook it. You want to hit, I believe it's 175 degrees. So we had a stir fry with this chicken, so you've seen me cut vegetables before. I'm just kind of cutting them in stages, putting them in little containers when I want to throw them in the pan. So we got garlic and onion that I'm gonna throw in first. I'm just roughly chopping them. And the best part about this is when I'm done the chicken, I'm just gonna take them out of the pan and I'm gonna cook these veggies right in the pan. Also, you can eat the stems of broccoli. It is probably my favorite part in a stir fry. I found these peppers in my freezer, so I've got green and red peppers. Make sure that you drain the juice out of these peppers if you freeze them, because they will be very wet. And again, I'm just rough chopping them. They don't have to be tiny or anything. It is going in a stir fry. And because they're frozen, they're a little bit softer, so I'm gonna cook them when I put the mushrooms in. They'll be the last things I put in, just because they probably won't take as long. And here's the chicken, so I just wanted to show you what they looked like. I'm just flipping them, and I'm gonna add some more barbecue sauce to these and cook them for another few minutes. I think I did every 15 minutes. So here I am, I'm just pulling them out. They are done now. I'm going to remove them from the pan. I'm probably going to stick them in the microwave just to keep them warm while I'm cooking up the vegetables. They were so good. So like I said, I just removed them from the pan, and now I'm going to cook the veggies right in the same pan. Less dishes, the better. I'm going to start with the garlic and the onions, and I'm just going to saute that for a few minutes. Actually, probably only about a minute. They're also going to pick up all that extra flavor from the barbecue sauce and the chicken. There's a little bit of chicken that was stuck to the pan in the bottom, so that'll be brought up. And if you want, you can always empty some of the grease in the end. So I'm just going to start by cooking the broccoli because that's going to take a little bit longer. I like a little bit of crunch to my broccoli, so I'm not going to cook it all the way through. Just mixing them up good. And then I had some egg yolks that I had left over in my fridge from a recipe where I needed the egg whites. So I just thought I would add that. And I'm just stirring it up a little bit. And here I am just adding the rice. I always like to mix my rice right in. And this is where the pan becomes too small. But I managed. And here's the finished product. So I just wanted to show you what the inside of my deep freezer looked like at the end of week 5. You can see it's just ice cream and some ice packs. And then this is my freezer that I keep full at the bottom of my fridge. I am going to be emptying this more and less, but it feels pretty good that I only have this full. I've got strawberries, pierogies, and then this is week 6. So I've got hamburger, turkey, beans, carrots, green peppers. I'm going to have fish for lunch. And then I had canned pork the week previously, and I've never canned meat before, so I wanted to check it. So we'll do that on video. So hot turkey sandwiches again, a pork stir fry with that canned pork, pierogies, and then chicken tornadoes with rice. So if you don't know what chicken tornadoes are, it's just a piece of chicken with bacon wrapped around it. We buy it in bulk at our grocery store, and then on Sunday we'll just have leftovers. So this is that pork. And I just recently found out that my can opener actually has a little piece so that you can open these. There we go. I ended up being super impressed with this canned pork. It smelled so good. I looked good, smelled good. There was no growth on it. It ended up perfect. So I'm just going to save the juice from this, or the broth if you'd like to call it. I did add water so that I made sure I had this broth. And I'm going to just add this to the cooking water when I make the rice. So when I canned it, it looks like I did cut them into chunks, but I guess when I canned it, they had kind of cooked together, which is fine. I just go in there with my knife to loosen it up, and it comes right out. It's super tender, and I was super excited. I didn't add any seasoning to this when I canned it. I wanted to be able to just add whatever seasonings I wanted to it when I cook it. And I was going to use the knife and cut the chunks into smaller chunks, but then I got in there and realized that it was just so tender. I could just use my fingers and it shreds apart just like pulled pork. In fact, you could probably just add barbecue sauce to this and make like a pulled pork sandwich. And I realized I probably could have used forks to do this. It probably would have been less messy, but I was in the moment. So these are just some veggies that I cut up and I'm cooking them. I did add some soy sauce to the not pulled pork, sorry, it's just pork. I think it was pork loin actually. So I added soy sauce and I'm just warming that up. It did get cooked as it was being canned, so it just needed to be warmed up. And this was a couple days later, so it's not like we're having rice and stir fry every day. But I did put it over some rice. I was just gonna eat it like that, but I thought some rice would just give it a little extra something. Here I am just these are my beans from my freezer. I drained them, rinsed them, and we're gonna make chili. So 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 1 can of tomato paste. I did end up using 2 cans actually. The ground beef is cooking as I'm chopping these vegetables. So I just cook them in the bottom of the pot that I'm going to be using to make the chili. So of course we're adding onions. We'll add mushrooms and some sweet bell peppers. And what we'll also use is a chili seasoning pack. I did add more chili pepper to the pot as it was cooking, like I did with the tomato paste, just because I thought it needed a bit more of that flavor to it. But chili is like one of those meals where you could just put it together in the morning or the night before, and you can either cook it in your crock pot or on the stove on a low temperature and just let it simmer all day long. So that's what I did. In the morning, I wanted to make a bigger batch because I did can some, but I just cooked it in a pot. I let it simmer for 3, maybe 4 hours, and it was perfect. And again, I just roughly chopped everything. I wanted it to be big enough so that we could feel them, like taste them and get the texture, but small enough where they're just bite-sized and they cook quicker. And I'm just gonna grab the pot with the ground beef in it. And I'm gonna add all my ingredients. Now, I think I would have added celery if I had some, but I didn't have any. I'm gonna add my seasoning mix. So I stir it every time I add something in it, I stir it just so that everything gets really mixed in there. And I learned a trick on TikTok where when you're emptying your tomato paste, if you cut out both ends, you can just kind of push the one end through and you won't lose as much tomato paste. Like most of it'll get put in whatever you're making. And I tried it and it was all right. I didn't see much of a difference because some of it still stayed along the walls of the can. That's okay. So then you just have to add, well, I added 2 cans of diced tomatoes, and then I'll add one of those cans, I'll fill it with water, and I'll add that to the pot. And again, I just mix it so that everything gets mixed thoroughly. I already added the chili seasoning, like the packet, but I did, like I said, I did add a bit more of the chili powder. And yeah, so I just simmered this on low. I brought it to a boil, I turned it down, and then I simmered it on low for about 3 to 4 hours and served it with some cheese on top.